The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to CBBC's China's Digital Consumer Webinar Series 2020. My name is Maxine Renfrew. I'm the Service Delivery Executive here at CBBC, and today I'm joined by Zhao Li. This is the co-founder at Crayfish. Our topic for today is B2B digital marketing, so slightly different from what we've been doing in our past webinars, but I know that this will be very useful for lots of our members today. First and foremost, before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear and see us so that you can hear our presenters' presentation this morning. You should have a panel which looks something like this on your screen. If everybody could give me a virtual hands up and click the little hand button on their screen, that will let me know that you can hear me. Perfect. I see some hands going up. That's wonderful. I've also circled here our questions box. Please do type in your questions throughout. These will come up on my screen in a list and we will address them at the end with our Q&A session. So we have Zhao here for 1 hour today. Please do pick her brain. Anything you can think of, just type that in and send it over. And also a little bit about CBBC, for those of you who don't know. CBBC is the China-Britain Business Council. We are the leading organisation supporting UK-China trade. Here in the UK, we have 40 offices across the country. These are ranging across a number of industry sectors. And here in the consumer team, we support agriculture, food and drink, and retail sectors. Over in China, we also have 13 offices across the country, and these are all in the first tier cities. So we have Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. And we also have offices in second and third tier cities as well. As I say every time we host a webinar, this is part of our series. So please do go to our website and have a look at some of our upcoming content. Towards the end of May, we'll be hearing from Cumin, and beginning of June from Desa and Shira. And these are both going to be coronavirus themed webinars. So lucky you guys, we get to talk more about COVID-19, and I'm sure it'll be really interesting there. And into June, we'll be hearing from Sonny Tran from China Cash. And this is all going to be about cross-border connectivity for applications, websites, and digital content in China. Also here at CBBC, we are offering a free 30-minute consultation service. To find out more about this service, just go to the website, events, other events. But for today, I would just like to take a moment to introduce our wonderful speaker. As I said, this is Zhao. She is the co-founder at Crayfish. And before co-founding Crayfish, Zhao studied towards a finance degree at Nankai University, and after that she did her MA in operational research at the London School of Economics. After she graduated, she worked for Unilever for a number of years as the e-commerce and digital manager, leading cross-functional teams in the UK and China. And then, Crayfish was co-founded in 2018. So Crayfish, they focus in marketing, sales, platform and product development for companies looking to move into China. And without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our specialist for today. And Zhao is going to share her screen.
Yeah, cool. As introduced, my name is Zhao, and I'm the co-founder of Crayfish.io. Today, I'm going to talk about B2B digital marketing in China with you. So it's not possible to talk about B2B marketing nowadays without talking about the impact of coronavirus or COVID-19. One trend that we can observe, not only in China, but also here around the globe, is a trend moving from offline to online. The traditional offline B2B marketing has suffered a lot because of the coronavirus outbreak. If you are in B2B industry, you know how important it is for us to go to exhibitions, to attend different conferences, to do networking in a more gathered around way. And also a lot of important meetings between leads or between clients and ourselves are happening face-to-face because we need to build that trust. However, because of the outbreak of coronavirus, all this becomes impossible almost. So one typical case is early on this year, the biggest mobile event, MWC GSM, which was hosted by GSMA, was cancelled in Barcelona 2020 this year. This just shows that how difficult it is nowadays to do traditional offline B2B marketing. Luckily, this pushed all the marketeers in B2B industry to move from just offline or putting the heavy weight of their marketing on offline to a more online approach. For example, Microsoft this year actually hosted its biggest event, the Build Developer event online, and a lot of webinars, as you can tell, are actually moving online instead of just offline. This just shows that in China, the preference for digital is now 1.7 times more than traditional sales interactions. However, what we believe, or usually originally as a B2B marketer, what we believed is quite different, and a lot of offline marketing efforts cannot be overly achieved by digital marketing. This includes, when you do B2B marketing and sales, usually a B2B buying process is a really long decision-making process. And also we need to educate our clients about the understanding of the products. Also, when it comes to signing the contract or when it comes to conversion, usually it was led by the sales team. However, marketing people still need to help with the negotiation and help the clients to understand not just the product, but also from the supplier, the manufacturer itself. Also, the last part is also very important because there are more and more SaaS model in B2B marketing and sales. Then it means that you have long after sales cycle deployment and debugging. This also requires repetitive communication. All this traditionally happened offline. So how do you do your digital marketing to deliver offline the benefits that was delivered by offline marketing? This is what I'm going to talk about today. So if you look at the Chinese digital world, there are three characteristics I would like to point out here. Firstly, it's highly fragmented, and secondly, it's very dynamic time distribution and a lot of distraction on mobile. So if you think about your B2B buyers, half of their time are doing B2B buying process. However, half of the time when they go back home or even when they are in break sessions during the work, they are B2C consumers. So how they consume data, how they behave digitally impact heavily on how we do B2B marketing in China. So on the right-hand side, you will see an infographic where we display the how fragmented and how dynamic the time distribution is in China. So if you look at the axis, you will see horizontal axis, you will see its monthly active user, and the vertical axis is accumulated monthly active user growth rate. The higher up, it means it grows at more quickly. The higher right, the more right means that there are more and more people are using this, consuming this data in this format. And the bigger the circle is, meaning people are spending longer time on it. So as you can see here, although people are still doing a lot of networking and the growth rate is still growing a little bit on the networking side, the trend that we couldn't ignore here is short videos. So a lot of people, especially when millennials moving into more important roles in B2B industry, they are consuming more short videos formatting content. As you can see here, there is a little small dot on the left-hand corner called live streaming. This data, this figure was made in 2019, early 2019. However, within last year, the live streaming becomes so hot a trend in China now. Traditionally, originally in B2C markets, but now and what we can see is B2B market is also embracing this new trend, which I will talk about later. So as you can tell here, that people are actually emphasizing or putting their time in different slots into so many different actions. So it's very difficult for you as a B2B marketer to act as the guide role, as what we thought before, that you actually have a user journey and you lead your client or customer along your user journey. Now what you can do is actually you are there when they are actually consuming that data, or when you are there when they are trying to look out for you. That's why, I said before, we call them B2B customer, and more so, especially because of the coronavirus, we actually evolve into a more B2B consumer world. What does this mean? If you look at a B2B customer, usually, traditionally, it's you can have its real name, so it's a known customer at very early stage, so you know who they are and you can tailor your solutions. And the whole process, buying process, is very rational. They look for data, they look for proofs, they look for a logic. And the communication and the decision is very interdependent, meaning that you can't just communicate to one person, you're actually communicating to the entire workforce, or different tiers within different tiers within the hierarchy. The conversion cycle is very long, and once you have the customer with you, you have very high loyal customer with you. So for marketing efforts, you don't actually need to put a lot into the customer maintenance. That's the sales department's job. However, nowadays, a B2B consumer, well, why we call it B2B consumer, because it actually combines the traditional B2B customer and a little bit B2C consumer characteristics. As I just mentioned before, why so? Because more and more millennials people, they are moving into more important roles. And even if people like in their 30s, 40s, or even 50s, they are starting to behave more digitally. The implication of this is, firstly, your customer or your consumer will stay anonymous for a long time, or at least much longer than they would like to before. So data shows that a lot of B2B customers, in 2015, they were still willing to expose who they are at early stage. But the research that they did in 2019 shows that a lot of more people are willing to do more researches before they actually gave out their name. So a lot of B2B marketeer, what they do nowadays is, just to ask people to enter their name and organizations as a gate to a content. I'm not saying that it's not doable, but the trend just shows that people would tend to avoid to input their names and their organizations in such an early stage. And secondly, people are becoming more and more emotional when they make decisions. But if you think about this, it actually makes sense, because you are actually making a decision on behalf of an organization which decides if you are a good employee or if you are a trusted person in this whole process. So somehow it has to be emotional. But this also means that they are looking for more facts rather than just rational data. So how do you actually compose yourself? How do you position your brand? It's becoming more and more important when it comes to emotionally engaged with your B2B consumer. The interdependence and long conversion cycle don't change. It's still B2B customer characteristics, but like it or not, B2B consumers are becoming not as loyal as they do before. This means that marketing people have to step in also maintenance with the relationship with the customer. For this, B2C marketeers actually did a lot on how to maintain loyalty from their consumers that we can learn from. So your loyalty scheme, how do you design it, and how do you keep engaged with your B2B customer is also very important. So after knowing how their behavior changed, then what we need to do is to tailor your marketing strategy based on different stages. Here, I actually categorize them into 3 different stages. In the awareness and interest phase, on top of the funnel, we call that we need to educate the market. And when it comes to consideration and intent, we need to provide them with the solution. And when it comes to evaluation and purchase, your marketing purpose becomes that you need to help them make the choice. At the bottom of the funnel, there should be one called meeting the loyalty, but because of the time limit here, I won't touch on that one for now. But the content focus that for different stages, therefore, should be different. So there are different issues or challenges that you need to address when you try to educate the market and give them the results if they don't change their current status now. And what in the provide solution stage, we need to tackle the specific issue, specific demand, answering different to specific needs. So link the solution to the demand. And when we help them make the choice, it's more persuasion job and specific Q&A. And who is doing the content communication is also very important in different stages. In stage 1 and 2, so educate the market and provide the solution, it's a little bit combination of KOL, so key opinion leader, and from the marketing team. So you need to make sure that all your efforts that go into these funnels are addressed by these one team and also one external expert. But when it comes to persuasion and specific Q&A, this requires your BD team and you work together. So as you can tell here, before when B2B marketeer do marketing, after we identify hot lead, we just pass it over to sales team and sales team will do all the work. But nowadays it's very difficult for us to do so. So you have to keep on along the journey together with them. So I talked about content. And Seth Godin said, content marketing is the only marketing left. It's even more so in B2B marketing because it's very important to show your expertise, to show you that you know what's the industry, what's your client need, what different industry needs. So it's very important to do content marketing. So how do we do content marketing and why do we do it? This chart just shows that B2B business already over halfway through buying process before they contact you. So if the process is 100%, almost 60% of the process is complete before your customers first contact with you. That's why I said, you know, people would like to stay as long as possible as anonymous status. Before you even know that they exist, they already did a lot of search around you on the internet. And this trend is becoming more and more so in China as well. So China B2B buyers, they usually search around and asking around before they actually reach out to you. So it's very important that when they search for you, when they look for you, you are there. Where do they get the information? This is just a chart to show that how consumers, how people as individuals find the useful information for themselves. So they do so through search, through community, and also now, as you can tell, from short videos. So Baidu is still very strong in tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, and tier 3 and 4 and 5 cities. So I know a lot of people saying that it's not very important in China to have a website now. But however, a lot of people are still searching through Baidu. So you have to make sure that you are there when they search for you. I marked WeChat here. WeChat now has become an emerging platform for searching information as well. So a lot of people are doing their searches on WeChat directly. And as a B2B company, a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they ask, is it really necessary for B2B company to have a WeChat official account? But if you look at the data here, yes, it's very important for any company who would like to actually doing business in China to have a WeChat account. And the other trend is they actually search, and not just search, they actually get the information through community apps. Xiaohongshu, so right here is more for consumer search. So a lot of products and data and knowledge sharing, consumer-led knowledge sharing are happening on Xiaohongshu. Another very important channel here is called Zhihu. It's actually becoming more and more important, especially when you want to penetrate into tier 1 and tier 2 cities. And this platform is like Quora in here in the West. So it's a Q&A platform where people ask different questions, and experts and people can directly answer to those questions. A lot of B2B Q&A are actually happening on Zhihu. So what this means is you have to also be ready there if you really have the dedication to do marketing, to do business in China, which I'm going to talk about later as well. And then it's short videos. There are two major apps in China that are doing short videos. One is called Douyin, which is TikTok in here, and another one is called Kuaishou. Douyin is actually becoming a combination platform of e-commerce and short videos and also live streaming. Some of the B2B platforms and some of the B2B customers have already opened their TikTok or Douyin accounts. It's definitely a new trend. And what content are they interested in? So this chart is a very interesting chart that I found online. So what you can tell here on the left-hand side is different formats, different types of content. On the right-hand side, as you can see here, it's different stages, as I just mentioned. The blue bar meaning that the marketeers have what type of content that B2B marketeers have already deployed. The green bar meaning the content acknowledged or accepted by the target audiences. So as you can tell, in different stages, people consume content in different manners. For example, it's not very important in the education of the market stage to pull your BD team in to ask them to do product showcase. But if you do online webinar with suppliers, with yourself, with your product team or marketing team, it's really good. And also, if you at this stage offer free trial, it's also very important as well. And when you provide the solution stage, the BD involvement is also very important. When you help with make the choices, also it's very important to also let them try this product again. One thing a lot of small B2B companies would like to do is to ask the customers to talk to their CEO or talk to their CTOs. But as you can tell here, talking with CTO is not as important as you actually show the product to them and let them know how important and how effective they will be after they actually adopt your products. And how they want to be communicated. So in China, as you can see, there are two charts. The first chart is to show the Chinese people how do they want to be communicated. And the second one is the major communication tools that Chinese people are using for daily work. So here on the first chart, as you can tell, compared to traditional email, Chinese business people, Chinese B2B customers would be more likely to be contacted by WeChat. Chinese people still like to do conferencing and exhibitions, which are not happening now. That's why it's very important for you to actually make sure that you have a WeChat account to contact with them, and you have a localized website to contact with them. Emails, yes, a lot of customers coming to us and asking why I sent an email to the Chinese customer and they never replied. It's just because Chinese people are not used to reply to long emails. The way that they use email are a little bit different from what we are using it. We are using it for daily communication, but Chinese people are using it more for the confirmation. So it's like if you need everything in written, then you send an email. Otherwise, the whole negotiation process can happen on WeChat. So that's how it works. And if you look at the second chart, what are the major communication tools? Firstly, definitely is WeChat, no matter what tier city they are. But if you look at other tools, there are phones, text messages, So basically call them if they don't reply to your email. QQ is still a very important tool for a lot of Chinese customers, especially when they are in manufacturing industries, because a lot of manufacturers are actually using QQ as a desktop communication tool as well. So I talked about how they want to be communicated, what they are, what's the content that they would like to look at, and now I would like to talk about the new content marketing trend in B2B industry, the interactive content. So still based on 3 phases: educational phase, provide the solution phase, and help them make the decision phase, phase 1, 2, 3. So in phase 1, more and more people are actually looking for, more and more consumers, B2B consumers, are looking for interactive content across all 3 stages. So how do you make sure that your content is interactive enough with them? One of them can be done through different formats. Research actually shows that when a lot of B2B customers think there is way too much content for them to consume, and not a lot of them are actually relevant to them. So when we did research online, we found out almost less than half of the B2B suppliers are actually using interactive content to communicate with their customers. So if you use interactive content to communicate with your clients, with your customers, with your potential leads, you are already above the 60% people behind you. So in different phases, how do you use interactive content? So in phase 1, ebook is definitely one of them, and a lot of people are actually using 360-degree videos. If you have a factory or if you have a product to show around to your customer. And in phase 2, which means that they need more information, more specific information, then people start to use live streaming and also interactive videos, meaning that people can actually, based on different scenarios, they can receive different messages. And the phase 3 is more like, what tools can you provide to help them actually make their decisions? So self-assessment and all some small useful ROI tools will help them not just to raise the awareness, but also help them make decisions. Here are just 2 examples of live streaming, as I just mentioned, and short videos. Live streaming was the hottest trend in 2019, and the trend actually continues in 2020 because of the coronavirus. When everyone has to stay at home, what they can do is actually they go to live streaming platform and watch different types of videos. So currently, the major B2C live streaming platforms are on Taobao, so people can buy directly, or TikTok or Kuaishou. So they actually more consumer-faced. What we have observed is some of the B2B platforms have already started to do live streaming through WeChat mini program. This is an example of a chip manufacturer actually started to do a live streaming talking about their products. So you can tell from here, so basically it's quite like how B2C live streaming is carried out. However, if you can see clearly here, you can see basically the product here they push out is around 10,000 RMB, which is around 1,000 pounds. I don't think this will generate a huge amount of conversion on live streaming as what B2C has achieved. However, this is a great way for you to talk to your customers, to talk to your potential clients directly. Also, this is done through WeChat mini program. If you do it through WeChat mini program, it means that you actually do the marketing to the audiences who already know you, or who have already followed you, or who at least heard about you. So this is an important tool to emotionally connect it to the people who already have some awareness of your brand. And The right-hand side is the short video, a very interesting short video, how B2B brands actually utilize this. The first example that I give here is from AliCloud. So AliCloud is a B2B platform, but it has a B2B Douyin, TikTok account on Douyin. So what they do here, you can tell it's basically the speech from their CEO, so their important notification of their new product launch. On the far right hand side is actually from GE China, because they have more products, so they can do short videos to show their products. So it's very important that when your B2B clients, they actually go off work and basically screen that Douyin, your brand is still there. So after this, all the strategic or all the strategic contents that I just described, how do you actually do it? So the first step for content marketing, I would suggest everyone in B2B marketing world to do is to create your cornerstone content. What it means to of this cornerstone content. This content acting as the cornerstone of your marketing strategy. It can be a thought leadership report, it can be a very comprehensive case study, but it's one piece of content that you can constantly reusing. So this content should reflect your brand, or should also reflect the most important part of your product delivery. So the way that you use it is that you use the same content again and again in different formats along along 3 different phases. So for example, in the discover phase, you can put it on your website. You can ask your CEO to deliver a speech about it. You can do a press release, or you can even do an online demo. In exploration stage, you can do online workshop or live streaming, or publish a much more comprehensive report, and also offer them the possibility to download it. And when it comes to the purchase or consideration stage, what you can do is, firstly, you can use this content internally for your sales team to understand the product more. And also you can design it to be infographics, more comprehensive infographics to share with your clients. Why we should reuse it again and again? Firstly, it's more efficient to create one content that can be reused, and secondly, it ensures that you deliver consistent message across all your marketing channels, and constantly updating on the similar topic will also give you better benefits towards your SEO SEO marketing. So after you create your cornerstone content, and also you need to have this content and your product localized. So one thing I'd like to point out for product and content localization, you can't just translate your product, or you can't just translate your website. You have to make sure that it's adapted to how Chinese people would like to see it. After you have this localized product and content, it's very important for you to fish where the fish are. These are just some basics that I think B2B marketing people should do before they actually do anything else. First, you need to have a Chinese website, and you need to have a WeChat or Weibo official account. You need to make sure that you have a Baidu SEO plan. If you have a Zhihu account or LinkedIn account, that would be really good. So for LinkedIn account, it's also very important in China, but a lot of people are using LinkedIn account less for information hub in China, but more for understanding of the background of the company and also of the salesperson. Because of the time limit, I'm going to talk about WeChat and Zhihu today. So if you would like to do a B2B marketing in WeChat, it's very important that you have your official account. There are 3 different types of accounts: service account, subscription account, and enterprise account. Enterprise account is more for internal communication. For external broadcasting tool, I think it's more people are using service account and subscription account. The key differences between these two is, if you look at subscription account, it actually falls into a folder called subscription accounts folder, as you can see highlighted here. Once you click on it, there are different accounts shown. But if you have a service account, it actually, whenever you post out a new message, it actually appears directly in your chat flow. So it's more visible. People are more easy to see your account. However, as a service account, you can only publish 4 articles per month. And 4 articles, meaning 1 article you can contain different posts, or 1 post per month, and you can contain different articles. On subscription account, you can post out once per day. So if you are really heavily content-led, subscription account is more useful. However, to the majority of B2B companies, I think once a week or 4 times a month would definitely be enough. But as a foreign business, when you start your own overseas service account, if you don't have an entity in China, then you can only open a service account. And as I just mentioned, WeChat search now actually presents an ideal search marketing opportunity. A lot of you might know that Chinese digital world are occupied by 3 biggest giants, and now it's actually becoming 4. The first 3 are Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and now ByteDance. People call it the new BAT. So ByteDance, Alibaba, and Tencent. They are actually occupying the majority of the digital world. What does this mean? This means that they actually block each other from each other's ecosystem. So, for example, WeChat belongs to Tencent. So if you search in WeChat, you can't actually find anything on Alibaba. The same applies. When people search on Baidu, they can't actually search anything in WeChat. So this means that when people search on WeChat, it's very important that you are there. The good thing about WeChat search is it doesn't just contain the content that it got from the WeChat itself. It also contains a lot of content, for example, on Jingdong, on Zhihu. And by the way, Zhihu is the only platform that's not blocked by any of the BATs. So it's very important for you to have a Zhihu account, right? And also on Sogo as well. And because WeChat is putting more and more traffic towards search, so it's important that after you have the WeChat account, you also do your SEO work on WeChat as well. Another very important tool that I would like to point out here, without you spending any money, is WeChat groups. WeChat groups is like the virtual networking groups in China. So the reasons to join a group chat of more than 100 people, as you can see here, it's mainly professional related. So it's very important if you have Chinese colleagues or if you have Chinese clients, you ask them, can you actually get me into any groups that's related to the industry? In the group, you can even post out job notification or job description to recruit people. Or a lot of people are actually using that to broadcast about their products, to provide useful information as well. And the last thing that I would like to mention is WeChat mini programs. WeChat mini program is the tool that WeChat introduced in 2016. When they introduced the mini program, it's essentially an app that you don't have to download, that you can directly use within WeChat. When they firstly launched it, a lot of people think it's not that useful. However, after 2 to 3 years now, there's already, here it's still 1 million, but now it's already more than 2 million mini programs on WeChat. And people are using it. Before it's only 7 minutes a day. I think now it's around 18 minutes a day, or at least longer than 10 minutes a day. So a lot of people are using these mini programs. How are people using it is mainly for tools or for information, or just to search for if there's anything interesting in mini program there. How does a B2B platform or customer can use WeChat mini program? Here I just list several examples. You can use mini program to create your business card. Then when you send your business card to anyone else, it's very digital and engaging and interactive, as I just mentioned. And events, you can also publish your events and activities there, share your insights there, and even you can actually build an interactive case study within your mini program. And this is just another example to show that how you can use mini program to create a tool, as I mentioned before, as an interactive way to communicate with your client. This is a tool that's created by an accounting firm for them to actually calculate for the customers or for employees to actually calculate their different costs and tax. And after this, after the calculation, you can directly see the contact here, and you can customers and clients can contact the manufacturers directly. Before we move on to Zhihu, another thing about WeChat is, I just mentioned, WeChat is a very closed circle. So it's actually your first group of audiences will be your clients, your potential leads, and your own employees. And it's not very easy to do WeChat marketing. It's because there are so many WeChat accounts out there, and there are so many mini programs out there. For example, there are already more than 14 million WeChat official accounts there. However, on average, when people only follow 15 to 16 accounts, a maximum. So it's very important that you know how you grow from a circle of just your current clients to more potential leads. Okay, that's WeChat. And then I would like to talk about Zhihu. Zhihu is more like the platform for professionals. Currently, I think there are more than 220 million users on Zhihu. The good thing about Zhihu is actually really high user profile. So as you can see here, more than 80% of users hold a bachelor degree and above, and more than 76% of users have high income. And the majority of the Zhihu users are senior levels in their companies. So for example, there are a lot of CEOs on Zhihu compared to other platforms. This is a platform that they consume information, and this is a platform that they actually get hold of a lot of useful insights, the industrial insights. And people on Zhihu, when they go there, they have clear objective. More than 65% of users are using Zhihu to search and ask questions relevant to their professional fields. And it's a clear content driver. Good thing about Zhihu compared to WeChat. WeChat, because it's an information flow based app, so a lot of your content, although it's still in your WeChat account, it will be very difficult for your followers to find your content, let's say 1 year ago. However, on Zhihu, the content, what you can have is somehow like deposited in your bank. The longer your content is there, the higher your engagement rate is, the better the rank of your content is. So it's definitely worth the effort of putting more content marketing effort on Zhihu platform. And also it's high authority on search engines across different platforms, as I just mentioned. So, and also it's a platform for B2B KOL. So a lot of B2B key opinion leaders, they don't go to any other platforms, they are on Zhihu. So for example, on the right-hand side, is this one, the nickname of it is called Pony Ma. He is actually Ma Huateng, the #1 guy in Tencent. And this was the question that he asked in 2018, October. The question that he asked is what changes or what breakthroughs in science in next 10 years will have the impact on the internet industry. And as you can see here, it already has more than 3,400 answers. So this is just to show you that to what level that people are actually registering on Zhihu. So you can actually access to a lot of CEOs on Zhihu without you knowing it. That's why it's very important, as I mentioned, that you also have a presence on Zhihu. And how do you do this? Apart from after you register an account and to answer different questions, there are different ways to do it. You can actually own a Zhihu topic if you are a really like the leader in your industry, or you can have a Zhihu brand page, which is just like your Facebook brand page. And the last, you can have your Zhihu column as well, if you have enough to talk about one single topic. So as you can tell here, it's a little bit more vertical than a typical social media tools. Okay. After this slide, I think that's all from me for today. Before we take any questions, I would like to do a quick introduction of Crayfish to you. As you might already heard of us, we are a full service provider for better engagement in China, powered by technology. We offer services in three different pillars, including expertise, connections, and capitals. So for everything related to, for example, B2B marketing, open up your WeChat accounts, we can offer it through our expertise service. And if you need a connection to be connected with your Chinese contacts, or we also offer training services, is under connections. And we also operate Crayfish Accelerator, which aims to connect capital with services together. And we offer this through three different ways. The first different thing that Crayfish has is a marketplace where you can register as a client, and we have more than 1,000 providers around the world who can speak Chinese and who can provide the service to you. And we also offer fixed price services, which is our standard service that you can buy directly online. And for more complex projects, we also offer tailored solutions as well. Okay, I think that's all from me for today.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much, Zhao, for your presentation. And we covered a lot of ground there, I think. And for the Q&A, I'm still waiting for any questions to come through into our box. So please do send them across, everybody, if any of them pop into your head over the next few minutes. We have about 10 minutes to get through our Q&A. I'll just kick off the discussion, Zhao, with a couple of questions myself. So as we know, this has been our B2C consumer series up until this point. So some of this information is quite new to me as well in the B2B space in China. So I guess one of my first questions, we spoke a lot about WeChat. Of course, everyone's probably very familiar with this platform in China. And I guess, especially post-COVID, when we can't actually go to China at the moment and speak to people. And it sounds silly, but like swapping WeChat is kind of like swapping business cards, I guess, when you meet people. So, and as we know, it's a closed network. So I guess for brands, how can we kind of continue to grow that network when we can't go to trade shows and we can't meet with potential clients? Is there any other platform that we can engage with that would help to grow that network?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. There are, I think, 2 to 3 different ways to do it inside WeChat and also outside of WeChat to grow your network. Firstly, inside WeChat, there are one-to-one way to grow WeChat, and there is one-to-many way to grow your WeChat account. The first thing I would like to talk about is the WeChat group that I talked today. So as long as you are in 1 or 2 of those groups, as long as it has more than 100 and 200 people, it's actually your potential user base. So firstly, you can start from that. Be more active in the group, not just posting the information about your company, but actually participating as someone who's actually would like to contribute. Then when people get warm to you, you can add them to your personal network, and then they can start as your base. Another way to use WeChat group, which I can see a lot of my Chinese WeChat client, B2B clients are doing, is they start their own WeChat group. The good thing about starting your own WeChat group is, firstly, you have full control of your WeChat group, and secondly, people in the group, they are already familiar with who you are, and they know what they are expecting you to engage with them. So it's then to add the stickiness of your followers as well. And once they are in your group, you are not disturbing anyone else. You are actually utilizing your free data or free traffic, as I mentioned, to do that. And now it's a perfect time to do it because people are actually starting to spend much longer time on WeChat than they did before, and they are more open to new groups and new information through WeChat. And the second way to do it through WeChat is definitely when you do a webinar or when you do an online session, do the promotion in WeChat, in groups, through your WeChat moments, as what you did for this webinar. And also what you can do is to ask the followers to actually share the information with their network. So the good thing about a closed circle is one circle is always linked to another network. So as long as you find someone in middle of 2 to 3 more networks, they can actually help you promote your content to more close networks. So that's how do you do it on WeChat. And apart from WeChat, as I mentioned, for example, on Weibo, on Zhihu, it's not closed network. You can use hashtags, you can add different people. It's more broadcasting channel than one-to-one communication tool as WeChat is. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, amazing. And just a quick add-on to that as well. I've heard before that there's such a thing as posting too much on WeChat, that it actually is annoying for people, I guess, and they may be. So what's the kind of optimum posts? I know you said depending on the account, it depends how often you can post what you're.
Yes.
What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, that's I got asked that question a lot. And my answers changed along the way because of the different way that WeChat has evolved and also how people's behavior has evolved on WeChat. When WeChat accounts just got introduced in 2011, 2012, it was whenever you posted, people would like to read. However, as I just mentioned, currently people are only tend to follow 16 accounts maximum. One person. So it's very difficult for you to get in front of your customers and B2B clients. Especially for B2B accounts, what I would say is you only post if you have anything to say, otherwise don't. Because the more you post, the higher rate that your followers will leave you if you are talking nonsense or if you are only about me. One typical example is a lot of B2B clients would love to post their events. What they do is they use that channel as a press release tool, thinking that all their followers are so interested in their events and who attended this, who attended that. However, not everyone is interested in the event, especially when it happened already. Unless in that event you can actually have some really good content, or you have loads of images that people would like to see how they look like themselves in the images. Otherwise, don't post any, this event happened yesterday and it was really good, things like that. Yeah.
So definitely don't spam people with like.
No, don't do that.
Okay, I will stop asking questions now because we have a few in our bots which I'd like to address. So our first question is from Jonathan. His question is, could you talk more about live streaming and B2B businesses? How effective can this be, and is it worth doing, and how can I get the most value out of it?
Yeah, so this B2B live streaming trend, it only started after COVID-19. I think it almost started in February and March when almost everyone was at home and couldn't actually go out. So it's still very new and people are still exploring. So I introduced it as a trend here because we have seen many people are actually using this tool. However, as it's mentioned, I think there are 2 to 3 factors that you should consider. The first one is, do you have a client base or an audience base at least already in China? B2B live streaming is quite different from B2C live streaming. When you do B2C live streaming, it's usually on platform like TikTok or Tailor, where the platform will give you traffic And because it's B2C, right? I can see you sell a toothbrush, which might be useful to me. However, if you are selling a chip or if you are selling a software, it will be very difficult for you to actually sell and attract those traffic. So you have to have a base, or you have to have a potential audience that you want to talk to. And the second factor is, what do you want to achieve through this live streaming? If you would like to achieve the live streaming, if you want to actually achieve conversions through live streaming, I would urge you not to try, especially when it's B2B, because it's very difficult for people to buy directly within 2 to 3 hours, just listening to what you just described. However, if you are building awareness, or if you are actually warming up your leads, it's actually a very useful tool, because it gives them one, more emotional angle to engage with you, and secondly, it's a very different way or vivid way, especially when you can't actually visit China. So you can comprehend it as a different type of webinar. So what you do webinar, it's usually more about information sharing and basically about your expertise. Live streaming is another way to do it, but more engaging and more, it requires you to be more proactive rather than reactive. And the third factor I think you need to consider is your product fitted for broadcasting or for live streaming? A lot of live streaming actually happened in B2B is, for example, in their factory or in their lab, where they can show people around and see different things, and when people are really interested in it. If you are just thinking using it as a demo for your software, I would say just do a demo instead of live streaming. So it's more about how you can utilize the engagement, the interactive tool of this live streaming. It's more a tool rather than content itself. And how do you do it? After you have these 3 assessments, I would like to you to do it through, firstly, like close the circle, like what I just mentioned, through WeChat mini program. So you have a controlled approach to try first, and after this, if it's really successful, then you can talk with different KOLs to do it together with you when they have more reach. Yes.
Amazing, great. I hope that answers your question, Jonathan. And we have another question from Gracia, or Grazia, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. What platform is the best to run a webinar for a customer located in China?
There are different ways to do it. So Zoom is actually quite good in China. We run several Zoom webinars with people in China already. And Chinese people have their own tools, like Tencent Meeting is also a very popular tool in China who run webinar. And there are mini programs and when people run webinar as well. So it's basically you can broadcast it through your WeChat directly through webinar.
Okay, I didn't know that about mini programs, so that's good to know. And one more question as well from Ava. This is quite a long one, so bear with me. Thank you for sharing this information on B2B. I think there's a lot of information on B2C out there, so it's good to have an insight into the B2B space. I completely agree. Like, I've learned so much today.
Yes.
Very refreshing as well to learn about this. So in Ava's past experiences, the Chinese consumer looks more for brand than product online. So what's the best practice in B2B terms to enhance brand awareness so that people actually look for your brand? Also, how much does it cost a Zhihu brand page? Is it expensive?
Yeah, it is. Yes. Firstly, address on the Zhihu brand page. Zhihu brand page is very expensive to build, and also it's not every brand can have a Zhihu brand page. It has to be approved by Zhihu first. So this is more for industrial leading brand, or you are a very leading brand in a niche market as well. So that's on Zhihu. And on how do you justify brand and product in B2B world, I think for B2B, it's actually easier than consumer world, because for consumer world, it's very difficult to have a thing called press release or PR or thought leadership. However, in B2B, thought leadership and especially press release are a very useful tool for B2B clients, especially when you are in a very niche or high-level industry. And I'll have to say, thought leadership is much more developed here in the West than it just started in China. So a lot of contents that you had before, actually, as long as it has enough data, it is well thought through, you can actually use that as a tool of building your brand in China already. So it's definitely not have to be, it doesn't have to be all the way product-led in B2B communication, and especially when it comes to B2B online digital in China, when people have so scarce attention span, I would say the split between your brand-focused communication and your product-focused communication should be half and half. The good thing about this is in B2C, especially currently in China, if you start a communication and doesn't deliver conversion or sales, you are failed. In B2C world in China, it's very difficult for you to do a purely brand-focused campaign in China now. Your boss and your distributor won't be happy if you do that. However, in B2B, people are expecting to see long conversion circles. So data shows that in B2B China, you have to communicate with your client six times before they actually reach out to you. So it's very important that you give them not just the one first facet of your brand. You have to give them different angles to talk about your brand. So it actually gives us an opportunity to be more brand-led rather than product-led.
Amazing. Great. I hope, Ava, that answers your question as well. And on that note, we've hit 10:30, bang on the dot. So brings us to the end of the webinar. And yeah, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in today. I know some of you will have to run off to other things now, but thank you so much for tuning in and for your questions as well. That was a really great Q&A. And thank you so much, Zhao, for your time and your expertise. I think it was a really great presentation today, and as we mentioned, very refreshing to hear a bit more about B2B space in China. I will be doing my usual follow-up emails to this. We have to convert the recording of the webinar and send that out in the follow-up email, so it will most likely be tomorrow. So if you'd like to listen to the webinar again, we will have that up on our YouTube channel. In the follow-up, I will have all of Zhao's contact email. You can see it on the screen just now, so take note of that, or you can also find it in the follow-up. If you have any more questions, or you'd like to know any more about crayfish or the kind of industries or services which they can offer, you can get in touch with Zhao. And yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and yeah, have a great rest of the day, everybody, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.